This discussion would not be complete if we didn't discuss the role of China and the international arena. What China does or doesn't do with its currency, again, what's your frank assessment as to what sort of bearing it's likely to have with developments back in the United States?
I think it's fair to say that China has its own imbalances, and other areas of emerging Asia have their own imbalances. It's the opposite of our imbalance. They have very low levels of consumption, growing very rapidly, but consumption barely keeps up with the growth of their GDP. It's interesting that in China, consumption is only about a third of the GDP. In the United States, it's more than two-thirds of the GDP. Ours is too much consumption, theirs is too little. And they've been too reliant on exports. That's where a lot of their production is going. And that's helped speed their growth, which is fine, but it's not sustainable indefinitely. And they've done this, maintained this, by buying up a lot of dollars. So they have trillions of dollars of reserves, but that raises its own questions. It raises questions for China, it raises questions for the United States. So I think there has to be a recognition on both sides that that imbalance is not healthy. It's not just a question of China vis-a-vis the United States or the United States vis-a-vis China. It's, China does a lot of trading with the rest of Asia.
What about calls from some sectors of American society for sanctions against China or protectionist measures? Isn't that going to hurt American businesses because they're also reaching out?
We want to avoid that, and that's why there's a mutual interest in seeing these imbalances dealt with, and I don't want to let the rest of Asia escape. Asia exports a lot to China, other Asian countries. And China says, well, we're in a deficit with the rest of Asia, and if we adjust our economy, other Asian economies have to adjust too, because we don't want to get uncompetitive in Asia. They have a point. So this is something that has to be looked at internationally. And I think that's the point the American Treasury is trying to make now with, I don't know them in detail, but the various initiatives that they're suggesting, recognizing this is not just a problem between the United States and China. It's a problem. If China's out of balance, if the United States is out of balance, it's a problem for the whole world.
So it's not just a bilateral fix. It has to be a multilateral approach to this.
You see a problem within Europe. It's interesting. The tensions within Europe are somewhat similar. They have, it's not China, it's Germany that has the big surplus, and other countries have a big deficit, and that's been unsustainable in Europe. That's a kind of microcosm of the problem in the whole world.
Some analysts are saying, America should just tell the Chinese the 2.7 trillion of foreign exchange reserve is enough, and they're actually suggesting the U.S. should put some sort of tax on Chinese official holdings. Your reaction to this?
I hadn't heard that particular proposal. I think it would be counterproductive. We want some stability and some comfort in those dollar holdings, but they are too big. It's not in the interest of the United States or in China or any other country to have that many dollars beyond their ordinary needs for reserves. And it's just a symptom of the imbalance. So it should be dealt with, but not by that kind of crude method. It should be dealt with by restoring the balance in the world economy.
You have mentioned this time and again about the role of the international community, but again, it's, you have to sort of take a time out and say it's going to take a while. This whole global rebalancing, and everybody talks about it, but talks the talk, but nobody wants to do it.
Right.
Where are we on this situation?
And it's true that there is no really very coherent international monetary system. There's no authority, there's no rule book, there's no institution that has been capable of maintaining the discipline that's necessary generally in the system. And that's been true for a long time, and there was a feeling Well, it doesn't make any difference if we don't have all those institutional arrangements, because floating exchange rates will take care of it. And the markets will equilibrate themselves if we just leave them alone. And that was the prevailing orthodoxy. The financial world in general, financial markets and exchange rates in particular, will deal with these imbalances as smoothly as it's possible to do so. I think what we've seen in recent years is that faith is no longer so relevant. People no longer can believe that simply sitting back and letting the market make all these adjustments is really going to be the best way of dealing with it.